Hi everybody, it's Beth here again. Today I'm going to show you how to draw this lovely baby elephant. All you're going to need, we're going to keep it quite simple, so all you're going to need is a pencil, a 2B pencil if you have one, but if not, don't worry, and a rubber. So if you've got everything ready, we will begin. So we're going to start by just sketching out the basic shape of his head. He's got a nice big round head. So I want you to just do little sketchy lines to start with. I'm doing, the width of his head is probably just over a third of your width of paper, so nice and big. So we're going to do little sketchy lines, going to take it up. It's quite square, sort of, so just round up. I'm going to do a little dip on the top of his head, and then back, starting to curve round a little bit and down, and then we're going to bring this line down. I'm going to work both sides at the same time so we get it quite equal, and then I'm going to start bringing it in a little bit, slightly narrower at the bottom than it is at the top. So we'll just get that in, might need to tweak it in a bit. I'm going to press extra lightly at the bottom here because we will rub this out eventually when we've got our trunk in. But let's just get the basic shape in first, check that we're happy. So we're going to get the basic shape of our head in. I might just tweak it a little bit. Just curve it round a bit more down the bottom. We'll get the ears in and then we'll have another look and just check we're happy. So obviously he's got really big ears, so I'm going to start a little way down. We're going to take this line up, roughly the same height as his head, all the way out, and we're just going to give it a little bit of shape. So I'm going to come back in again. I'm going to start at the bottom now and bringing it down again. It's roughly level with his chin, so all the way down, curve it back up, round. So we've got a nice shape for his ear. We'll do roughly the same on the other side. So track it over, just check it's sort of roughly level, and I'm going to take it up to the level of the head, curve it round, bringing it down. And then I might bring it in a little bit and back out. And then at the bottom we'll do the same. So down, roughly level with his chin, maybe a little bit longer. Curve it round and up. Have a little look, see if we're happy with that. I might just take off that little point there. So curve it a bit more. Okay, so they're roughly equal, roughly even. Let's get his lovely trunk in now. So probably I would say about a third of the way up his face, and about a quarter of the way in. This is just the top of his trunk. So we're going to bring it in a little bit, not too much, and then bring it down. So make it quite long, so bring this line down. And then we're going to curve it round to the left a little bit. And as we curve it round, we're just going to make it go a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to do a little V shape just for the tip of his trunk. Then we can get our rubber and we can just rub out that line that we did earlier, because obviously we wouldn't see that, would we? Okay. So we've got his lovely long trunk in, and we're going to keep his legs very simple. So they're just two front legs coming down. So just where his ear, just this little section of his ear here, we're going to bring a line that comes down. It's not perfectly straight, just down, probably just under the length of his trunk. And here, just out a little bit, I'm going to just curve it out a little bit. And sketchy lines coming down. And then just where his trunk is here, so we're cheating a little bit, so we don't have to worry about drawing all of his body in. And then another little line, roughly the same width on both sides. So there we go. Okay, so we've got his legs, his front legs. You could curve that out a little bit to match that one if you wanted. Okay, so we've got his front legs, we've got his face, his trunk, and his ears in. So we've pretty much got the basic shape now. We're going to add details. So we'll start with the eyes. The eyes, I would say, are roughly about halfway down, maybe just a little bit higher, and they're right at the edges of his face, and they're quite small little eyes. So I'm going to draw them. They're like little lemon shapes almost, and track it over. And they're pointing down a little bit. So have them pointing down a little bit. Try and make them roughly even. And then inside we're going to do a circle that nearly touches the bottom line. So all the way up to the top, touches the bottom line. And we're just going to mark our little white dots so we don't forget our little highlight when we come to shades. And then I think that's pretty much the basic outline of our elephant. We're going to add all the detail in now, all the shading and bits of detail. So we'll stick with our eyes first of all, and let's get that bit coloured in, really dark inside the eye. And don't forget to leave that little white highlight. And then just a gentle bit of shading for the rest of it, so it's a lighter grey. Could give him some little flicky eyelashes if you wanted, just on the corners, like that. And now I'm going to start adding, they're very wrinkly, the skin's very wrinkly, even for our little baby elephants. So I'm just doing a little broken line around his eye. So probably maybe 2 layers, so a little line that it follows the shape of his eye a little bit, and then one underneath, a sort of a smaller one, and then maybe a bigger one. Okay, and then I'm going to just shade in a little bit under his ear to start with. So we're going to make that bit a bit darker, and then that will make his face pop out a little bit, and just down his trunk, on the right hand side of his trunk, not his actual trunk. Okay, and then maybe this little edge bit, we're just going to shade it to start with. So just a bit of, my shading is quite scribbly. You can do it neatly if you want, or you can do it a bit scribbly. And then we're just going to smudge it for now. Get it smudged. Maybe if you haven't got a smudgy pencil, what you can do is just a little bit of light shading. Okay, so just pressing nice and lightly, just get that little bit shaded in. We'll do the same on the other side, so just at the top and under his face, it's quite dark, and then down his trunk, little, gets less, so not a big strip, just a thin strip down the edge. So I want that bit darker, and then this middle section a bit lighter. And then you can use your finger to give it a good smudge, try and blend that in a little bit. Okay, we didn't pop his mouth in, so where his trunk is, just underneath his trunk, so just on one side, and then the other side, we just put a little mouth there. Okay, and then what I'm going to start doing is putting, they're a little bit hairy, so we're going to start adding the hairs in, so a little bit of texture now. So little lines, sort of scruffy lines. I'm going over the edge of my head, so that pencil line that we first drew, I'm breaking out of that so that we've got a nice broken edge. And my lines are quite close together because I want it quite dark at the top. So lots of little lines following the curve of his head, and just down the sides a little bit. And then as I come further down, my lines are less close together. So it's less dark, so we're getting lighter basically. So we're trying to, and then you can smudge it in a little bit. So the top bit's darker, and then as we come down his face, less lines, and it gets lighter. Okay. And then we'll do the same, so little bits of, a few little dashes down the side of his face. Like this. And then what we'll do, we'll add some little wrinkles, some little lines. So I'm doing just some little broken lines. Coming down his face, quite light. Again, I'm not pressing hard. And then putting a few underneath. And then on his trunk. And when I'm doing it on his trunk, I'm going a bit harder. I'm doing some longer ones and some shorter ones. And I'm trying to curve it a little bit. So we're emphasizing the shape of that trunk. Okay. And then as we go round, again, curving those lines like that. And trying to emphasize. I'm doing some slightly shorter ones, slightly longer ones. Okay, and then I'm going to just give it a little smudge again. And we can put a little bit more definition on the edge of his trunk, just try and bring it out a little bit. So I'm making the edge of the trunk a little bit darker. There we go, and it's making it pop out a bit more. Okay. And then we'll move on to the ears. So the ears next, I'm going to, again, some little sort of hairy lines just along the top of his ears and over the top of the edge. Do that on both sides. So just a few little hairs over the top and round, just making them look a little bit less neat. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to put some little longer lines in, so going up, and then over here we're going to have some coming down, and over here some coming up, a few down, like that. And then I'm going to just shade a little section that goes up into his ear here. Give it a smudge. And then underneath that, I'm just going to make it a little bit darker. So a little bit of shading. Just pressing lightly with my pencil. And then where that ear is next to his face, I'm just going to make it a bit darker, and then that will make his face stand out a bit more. And then down. Following this shape of the ear, just this curved line. Smudge it in. A little bit of shading along the edge, a bit more shading. Smudge it in. They're very wrinkly, the skin. There's lots of lines, so quite crisscrossing my lines. And the ears. Then I'll do the same over here. So I'm going to make the edge bit a little bit darker, just where it's next to his face. And down the bottom bit there. Smudge it a little bit more. And then a bit more shading round. Okay, so a bit of gentle shading, crisscrossing my lines, Give it a good smudge with your finger. You will get dirty fingers, but that's fine, okay? And then the last little bits, we're just going to add a bit more detail just on his body, his legs. So all I want us to do, we're going to just do some little lines and maybe some little crisscrosses over them. So little lines. Quite scruffy, very loose, not neat. So just across and down, and I'm curving them a little bit as well, just to emphasise the shape of his leg. So a few little darker lines. Okay, and then just one more little layer of shading just on the top of his legs, just building up those tones. And I think, take a step back, just check that you're happy. Might make it a little bit darker under here. Give it a smudge. I think there we have it. A very cute baby elephant. Okay. I'm just going to make that little edge just a tiny bit darker, but I think we are there. Okay. There you go. I hope you enjoyed drawing our baby elephant today. Don't forget to subscribe and we will see you again soon. Bye for now.